Hi.
How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Very good, thank you. I just gonna wait a little bit longer just to see if
Sure.
more people will join us here. Um,
Okay.
got I already got some questions. Send it over to you. Um,
Perfect.
so
Can't
I
wait to get started.
so what I'll do is I'll actually start a little bit by introducing what I'm doing for those that haven't seen what I've been doing yet. So
Okay.
I was thinking of different ways that I can help the Southwest Florida community, the community that we live in, obviously. And I have a pretty big following on Instagram. I have over 80,000 people that follow me. A lot of people from here in Southwest Florida. And I thought, the best way to kind of give back to my community would be to do live videos with business owners, managers, people that are kind of living the day-to-day situation here, and also be able to give tips on uh, certain things that could help people through the crisis, right? So the aim is obviously to allow people to showcase their businesses and the services and products they're doing, but also to help people out. And so it's been going pretty well. This is the third week already that I'm going, and I'm already booked all this week. There's a lot more for next week as well. And then on the weekends, I try to do a little bit of entertaining. So last week, I had a country singer, Jay Allen, that came on. He actually performed a couple songs for us this weekend. I have another country singer, Lewis Bryce, who I'll chat with, and he'll hopefully perform a couple songs. I had a former football player the Saturday before, so for watching me all week, people get a little treat on Saturdays with a athlete or artist or something to that extent. So this is what I'm doing. If you're watching this and you have a local business here in Southwest Florida and you want to be featured, just send me a message, and we'll schedule something like we're doing here. It's normally a 25 to 30 minutes, on evenings. So just my little pitch on what I'm doing, and then I'm gonna turn it over to you. I wanted to ask you to kind of introduce yourself a little bit first. Where you're from. Obviously, where you live here in Florida. We know that, but a little bit about you, if you don't mind.
Sure. Hi. Thanks everybody for joining us. My name is Lyndsey Creech, and I'm a real estate professional here in Naples. So I am from Ohio originally. My family and I moved here 8 years ago. I graduated in 2008, and if anybody remembers that year, it was a really tough year to try and find a job. So I kind of took whatever I could, and that job ended up being an outside sales job in energy. In Ohio, energy is deregulated, so I sold energy, and I've also sold. Once we moved here, I got into commercial AC sales, used cooking oil. I've also done paper sales, so I'm kind of a jack of all trades.
Awesome.
Uh, my dad is part owner in an appraisal company in Ohio. So I grew up in the real estate industry. So I have a lot of knowledge about market value, and finally decided to really pursue my dream of going into the real estate market. Uh, it took a while to get there, just because a lot of people will try to chirp in your ear. There's so many real estate agents in the area, and there are. That's true.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones too. So that makes it a little bit easier to stand out when your competition doesn't know what they're doing. So that's a little bit about my work part. I'm a mom of three girls. Live in North Naples, and I do a lot with the moms community here. I run a moms group. I also run a local networking group, so I'm very involved in the community here in Naples.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah,
So, you work for Domain Realty, right? That's the
correct.
realty company, and then obviously yours is listed with Lyndsey as I have posted. Pre-COVID-19 activities. I mean, what kind of services do you provide to on a regular basis pre-COVID-19?
So a lot of people will ask, they have this notion that either you're a buyer's agent or a seller's agent, and some companies might follow that protocol, but for me, I'm both. I love listings. I love helping buyers. And I actually had somebody ask me last week, what is your ideal client? And I really thought about it, but I don't know that I have one. I do love everybody loves helping first-time home buyers because of the level of excitement that they have. You know, this is their first home. They don't know a lot about the process, and you really have to guide them through. But I love a challenge too. So I love the person who says they're a real estate expert. This is their 20th home. They know everything, and really kind of giving them an experience that maybe they haven't had before in a transaction. So I work with all clients, buyers, sellers, anybody that's looking to invest here. I have some investor clients. One of my listings, he flipped the house, and now it's back on the market. So variety of people, but those are the services. If you have a house you'd like to sell, I'm your girl. And if you want to buy, I'm your girl too.
Awesome. One of the questions I wanted to ask, and this is from my personal experience, right? So I grew up in Massachusetts. We bought our first home in the Boston area in 2010, I believe it was. You know, and then we sold it about 4 years ago, when we moved down to Naples. And you know, the market in Boston is very consistent, right? And quite honestly, it's very strong, and when you put your house in the market, you actually tend to get more than what you're asking for with different offers. That happened to us, right? When we put our house in the market, we got offers for more than we were asking. We had to debate, you know, what to do. Obviously, you always want more money, but
it's a wonderful problem to have.
Yeah, it is a big problem. And then since we moved down here and we bought our home, I tend to try to get values on my home from time to time from Trulio, Redfin,
Stop, don't do it. Don't do it.
But I see that the values of the house, even if you follow some of the houses that are in the market, they fluctuate a lot, right? And they in season and off season. Is that a common thing for Florida, or is that a notion that people have that it's not necessarily true?
It's not true.
Okay.
So a lot of those websites, their information isn't accurate. They say it is, but it really isn't. The most accurate information is going to be found in the MLS. And to get a true market value, you've got to have the comparables in that area. And they might give you some, but not really. They're not giving you accurate information. So I would say to anyone, do not go by those websites. I'll have people call. They'll see that there's a pre-foreclosure. That doesn't mean anything. It could mean they were behind on their mortgage a payment or two. But don't rely on those websites. You really need a contact and find somebody who's reliable, whether it's me or somebody else, just somebody you trust that's going to give you an accurate market value and not try to, I don't take listings where somebody thinks the value is $50,000 above where it is, just because you're setting everyone up for failure, right? So I try to be honest and upfront about that, but do not rely on those websites. Just
those websites.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, those websites, there are times they make me really happy, and there are times they make me really upset. So
yeah, don't do it. As far as the market fluctuating with season, we're having so many more people move to the area that are here full time. So as much as it used to be very seasonal, it's becoming a year-round business. So, just as busy as you are in February, you're that busy in June or July. Because a lot of people want to wait till May, June, July to move if they're changing schools or whatever, those circumstances might be. So some people will seasonally, if it's a second home for them, they'll put it on during season and then wait and see what happens, which does happen a lot. But as far as it fluctuating drastically, we haven't seen that. And I have not seen, a lot of people have asked that because of Corona has, the market gone down. We have not seen that happen. We have not seen where people think they can come in and get these crazy, deals, as they like to call them,
Yeah.
We have not seen that happen. So doesn't mean it won't. We're not sure yet, but it's kind of just a waiting game like everything else in the country right now.
Yeah.
It's just everybody's waiting to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. The other question I had was, obviously when you think of, again, comparing to different areas, even if, we don't have to go too far, but if you compare it to the East Coast of Florida, right, with Miami and Fort Lauderdale, those areas tend to have a lot of companies in there. So there's, a lot of jobs more than just industry, just in travel industry jobs, right? So they have corporations, they have all that.
Right.
That's not necessarily the case in Southwest Florida.
Hmm.
So we have obviously some, but it's not always the case. And then my feeling is that there are people that come and go very often here. Even if you go to my daughter's school, you see some of the kids leaving mid-year because the parent got a job somewhere else and they're moving with that. Do
Hmm.
you see more people actually moving to Southwest Florida or leaving Southwest Florida, or is it really a combination of both?
It's a combination of both, but I have seen lately, I don't know, this year probably the most, people who moved then come back. They may have moved for their job or for another reason, but they fell in love with the area. A lot of people love the small town feel that we have, but then you
Yeah.
still have all of the big city amenities. So, um, a lot of people will come back, but there are still so many people moving to this area. And if you drive around, if you see all the new construction going up, I mean, they're selling,
Yeah.
the new
Yeah.
construction properties. And I would have to say that I think more people are coming in than they are leaving.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kind of continuing the same topic, you hear, you just mentioned a lot of construction going on. You
Hmm.
drive around, and even around us, there's
Right.
so many stuff going up. As a homeowner, should I be worried about the value of my house decreasing because you have more houses on the market? Is that something that, as a homeowner, I should be concerned with, or does it not really impact because there's really a demand for the housing market here?
I would say it really depends on the price range, because you have to compare it apples to apples, right? So if they're building a new community and the prices are starting in the 300s, let's just say, but you're getting an attached villa versus a single family, and then you're in a single family home in another community, but your house is worth, let's say, 350, you're still going to be fine. So a lot of it's really hard to find the median price range for new construction. So if, let's say, what the median price range is, let's say 350 to under 500, right there, that
Yeah.
gap. The new construction right in that area is really hard to find if you want 4+ bedrooms, if you want a pool, all of those kind of things. That's going to be hard to find. You're looking at spending a lot more. And actually, when we bought our home, we looked at the new construction versus buying something that was already, established. And we decided that we wanted the bigger house with the pool rather than the smaller house without the pool. And a lot of people that move here want the pool.
Yeah.
If you're
Yeah.
moving from up north, if you're you want the pool. And it's funny because I saw this meme the other day about, um, if everybody could have known that this was coming, nobody would have bought a house without a pool.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Right? I mean, you're in the pool every day now, so.
Yeah. Yeah. The other question, in continuing the same topic, and I promise I'll get to COVID-19, but when our house was built in 2001, I believe it was. So I've had some people come over to do some work on the house, and they said, well, the problem with these older houses is that it's an older house. Well, that's 2001, and to me, that's not, coming from Boston, that's not an old house, right? Like
I know.
My house in Boston was, from 1920. Now that's an old house, right?
Right.
So obviously, it's a newer place, newer communities, newer houses. But what is considered an older house in this area? I mean, it is at the 20-year mark. Is that what would be considered an older home, or?
I mean, that is so subjective, you know. Somebody could say that if it's built before 2010, they consider it older. But for us, the requirement is, so if anything was before 1978, it has to be tested for lead-based paint, right? So in my mind, that's what I always think. Like if it was built before that time frame, because I'm the same as you. We the first house we bought in Ohio, it was built in the 70s, not the not the 20s, 40s, or whatever, but it was built a little bit earlier. So I do think if you look back to 1985 here, this area is nothing like what it was. So if you're giving a comparison of houses that have come on in just since 2010, it's going to be a lot more than maybe another area than where
Right.
you're from or where I'm from.
Right.
So you know it's all relative to what your opinion is
Yeah.
and probably where you're from.
Yeah. True. Yeah. Because even 1920 to me, it wasn't the oldest of houses, right? We had houses from 1800s, right? So
Right.
in Boston. So all right. So now, kind of moving on a little bit to the COVID situation. So that obviously that has been happening for some weeks, for some months now. It feels like a year, but
It really does.
yeah, it feels like long time, right? But it's
Really.
a couple months, 2 3 months, and obviously that has it affects everyone, and it affects the real estate market too, and obviously affects realtors, affects everybody, construction, all that. How much has that affected you personally to begin with, and then we can kind of get into the market itself.
So on with my own business, I have lost several deals because of it. I've had for different circumstances, but several deals fall through. But I've had others that haven't, and you do have people waiting right now that are just researching. They want to move forward, but they just want to see what happens with the market, which you understand. The good thing is if somebody needs a permanent home, if they are coming here and they're ready to buy, our services are fully available. We can take them to showings, we can do virtual showings, we can do whatever. And I have all my supplies. So I've got my mask, I've got gloves,
Awesome. Those are hard to
my
get by.
Lysol wipes, so you can wipe all the doors if you're on the showing.
Awesome.
I showed up with all this stuff to a final walkthrough, and I had my mask, my gloves, and then I had my sunglasses on too, which did look a little silly. But the other agent looked at me like, "What are you doing? Do you not know what's going on? You've got to have the protective gear." So,
Awesome.
um,
So showings are, if someone is looking to buy a home, you can still do showings right now.
yes,
Um,
absolutely,
and obviously, like you just showed, you take precaution and cleaning things, and but showings are happening, virtual showings are happening,
absolutely.
closings are happening, everything's happening. There's nothing really uh, stopped right now to
No, there's been a shift. Everything's done electronically. Um, if people do want to look, I can go to the house without them and we FaceTime,
yeah.
which actually for our market isn't unusual because you have a lot of people up north. We'll do a virtual showing anyway. So it's not necessarily a huge shift, but it is in the fact that it just makes everybody feel safer.
Yeah.
Um, and even if you have something listed, knowing that someone else is coming in your home and they have gloves and the mask, taking their shoes off, all that kind of stuff. So there are extra precautions that you would not have taken before.
Yeah.
Um,
But
it's happened.
I remember too. I feel that with these days, when we bought our house, a lot of the signing of the documentation is done electronically, anyways, right? You do all that, so in that sense, probably signing the documentation didn't really affect as much or change that much, right?
Right. As far as closing, it's changed somewhat, but as far as listing agreements, submitting offers, all of that, it's all electronic anyways.
Yeah.
Unless you have somebody that really wants that paper copy, everything's electronic. So not a huge shift.
Okay. And as far as the market, I mean, have you seen, how has the market kind of reacted? I mean, you briefly mentioned that people are kind of taking their time and waiting to see what the market react. Is that a good strategy, or could it be good or bad? Because yeah, I mean, the market you could get a deal, as you put it, but also the prices could go up and on it, and then you also don't get that deal, right? So I mean, what are some of the recommendations that you would give someone that is considering buying a house now?
I think if you're in it to try and find a deal, if this is your second home or if you're an investor, the deals are not there right now as far as taking a drastic drop in prices. We haven't seen that. Now you're still going to get people that are ready to sell who are motivated, but it's really hard to tell whether they were overpriced to start with unless you went through an intense analysis with every property listed. But were they just listed too high, or are the prices decreasing? And honestly, it's really too soon to tell. We really haven't seen a drastic change. Now, we've seen some people withdraw listings, and that could be for a variety of reasons. Some people have medical conditions. They don't feel comfortable with people being in their home. They weren't in a rush to sell in the first place anyways, or whatever it might be. But as far as the market or investors coming in, we have not seen a drastic change where you're going to get what somebody would consider this phenomenal deal.
Right.
Maybe, but you could have gotten that 3 months ago. You don't know. It's,
Yeah.
right now it's still based off of the seller's motivation,
Okay.
So.
And so obviously with the situation, like I said it before, there's people kind of waiting to buy, and then when you think of first time home buyers, those are probably the ones that are a little bit more hesitant, right? Especially if it's your first home, you haven't had that experience of buying a home. It's the biggest investment you'll make in your life, right? When you buy a home, and the uncertainty with jobs and all that. Has that changed from first time home buyers? Are they kind of being more cautious from what you've seen so far?
I would say it goes both ways. So there was a first time home buyer that really was pursuing a property and loved it, fell in love. This kind of all started hitting, and that fear crept in. I don't know. I think I should wait. And listen, if that's your feeling, you should. You never want to rush into, like you said, the biggest investment of your life. Other people, either they might be living in close quarters with family right now, or living somewhere small and they want something bigger, and they are ready.
Yeah.
They're like,
Well,
hey,
I'm sure
I
after
moved
spending
in
a
with
couple
mom
weeks.
and dad. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it really depends on,
I
their
can see
circumstance.
how that would push someone to try to move it quickly, right? So
Right.
I want to shift to not so much with the buying, but kind of change a little bit. So we've seen that the situation is taking a hit on the economy. People are losing jobs. People are having a hard time, making payments, buy food, all that stuff, right? And obviously we got the stimulus check, but that only goes so far, right? If you already have a home, if you are a homeowner, right, and you lost your job, you're having a hard time, paying your mortgage, paying your insurance, paying your condo association, whatever it may be. What are some of the things that people can do to ensure that one, they don't foreclose on their house? Is there things that they can do that would help them to make sure that they don't get evicted? That all the bad things that come with not making their payments on time.
Right. Well, the government did mandate that evictions and foreclosures are paused right now. So you're not going to get kicked out of your home. That's huge.
That's big. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So that is huge. However, it doesn't mean that you can't get behind on your payments. The biggest advice is have a conversation with either your landlord or your mortgage company. The other huge thing that people think is, oh, everything's deferred right now. It's not. It's not. So you need to call and have that conversation. And when you call the mortgage company, if they say that they will offer a forbearance, you really need to still talk to someone. Because if they offer a forbearance, whether it be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, whatever it is, a lot of times that payment then is due at the end of the forbearance. So let's say, hey, I called my mortgage company today. Hey, I've lost my job. I don't have money. Sure, no problem. We'll go ahead and provide you with forbearance for the next 3 months. Great. I don't owe my mortgage for the next 3 months. 3 months is up, and then they tell you that entire amount is due in full. Now, that doesn't mean that they can't restructure your loan or help you, divvy that payment out over a time period, but it doesn't guarantee it.
Mm-hmm.
So you want to make sure to have a conversation with someone. Make sure you record the details of that conversation and make yourself aware of what is going on with your payment. You don't want to get extra interest, charged to your account. You don't want any of that. So have the conversation. If you have a landlord, call and explain the situation. As far as HOA dues, those are really going to vary from community to community, but contact the property management company. Let them know what's going on. See if they might be able to provide you with a payment plan. The good news is nothing like this has ever happened.
Yeah.
So there are more things that can help you right now than probably ever before. So if you would have been laid off in a regular circumstance, they might not do anything. Might say, go fly a kite. I don't know. But right now, everybody's being way more understanding. Oh, yes, we're in the middle of a pandemic. So let us see what we can do to help you.
Okay.
So any payment you have, call, see what they can do to help you.
And so, just to kind of clarify a little bit when you're talking about as far as the mortgage. So you normally would have two options, right? One would be, as you mentioned, kind of saying that you can't pay for the forbearance, which you can't pay for 2 or 3 months, but then that whole amount will be due after that time period is on.
Mm-hmm.
Or the second option would be to restructure your mortgage and add those payments to the end, or divide them up into the payment for the remainder of the payments that you have for the rest of the year, right? So that's the difference that you're trying to explain. To be careful, right? Just the forbearance it means that you have to come up. If your mortgage is $1,000, you have to come up with $3,000 at the end of 3 months, and you might not have that either, right? So you have to be careful there.
Right. Now, it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't mean they can't restructure it or they might not be willing to work with you, but you just want to make sure you have all the information so you can make the best decision.
Okay. Awesome. I'm going to get to some questions, and I had one earlier that it was in regards to, networking. How do you as a realtor, how are you networking at times like this? Normally you go to conferences, that's how you get leads. That's, you have all these different things that you do to get leads, and to be aware of the market trends and all that, with nobody really leaving their houses to any of to any events really. How do you stay on top of that as a realtor?
So I actually run a local networking group for women, and we are doing Zoom meetings. So I don't know if anybody's familiar with Zoom. I'm sure a lot of people are, but you can get on with everybody at the same time. It's a virtual meeting, and it used to be that you could only get 30 minutes for free without purchasing the subscription. Right now, they have waived that. So you can stay on your Zoom call as long as you need. So our last meeting, I think, went at least an hour and a half or 2 hours. And we were actually able to we're all in different industries, but we were all able to give each other ideas, or even, we're all self-employed, small businesses. How's everyone doing? Have you had any updates with, the small business loans? What's going on with that? So I would say any type of platform online where you can talk to people. Obviously, social media, everybody's on social media more than ever. So really trying to cultivate the connections that you already have. It is hard to establish new connections as far as networking goes, but really trying to cultivate the ones you have. I would say any platform online. Zoom has been good. And we've even done it outside of networking with my family. We have a Zoom call every Tuesday night with my brother and my sister in Ohio, and just keeping everybody connected.
Yeah. All right, let me just read. I have another one here. Let me just see the question. The question is, does adding a pool to your home have a good ROI when it comes to selling?
This is so funny because I love that question, but based on who you ask, different people will have different answers. In my opinion, it's not necessarily going to increase the value past what you invested in it, but it makes it more sellable. So, okay, we don't have a pool. Let's say your house is worth 400,000. We add a $50,000 pool. Are we going to make 475 on it? Probably not. But will you get back what you invested? Yes. And is it going to probably sell quicker because you have that pool and we live in Southwest Florida? Probably. So
Yeah.
that'd be, it's a good investment here.
Yeah. The other question I had that I read is, is there any particular type of homes or colors or sizes or anything that here in Southwest Florida is more, required than others that people are looking more? I know, for example, when we purchased our home, we wanted to make sure that we had an extra room because we have always people, family visiting from up north, right? So is that, for example, a requirement that you see often? You were mentioning about the pool. Is it, or is it kind of all over the map that different people want different things?
It really depends on the buyer you're working with. Obviously here we not only get the people moving down full time, we get what we call the snowbirds. We get the people who are here, just through the season, and they might be looking for something completely different than what the person who's living here full time would be looking for. I do think that if you're moving from the north, typically the pool, people want that pool.
Yeah.
Like, I need the pool. I'm moving to Florida. I want the pool. Some people will compromise if the community has a pool, but they want some form or being able to put a pool in, room for a pool. So it really does just depend. But a lot of people moving from the north, whether it be the Northeast, the Midwest, if they're relocating here and they've got a large family, they're really wanting that 4-bedroom plus den or 5-bedroom because, like you said,
yeah,
they're going to have that family coming down.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. For extended periods of time, probably. Well, as we all know.
They might be watching, so I can't comment on that right now. The other thing I wanted to ask you is, obviously, if people are looking to either buy a home, they're looking to list the home, how can they reach out to you? What's the best way to contact you? Phone number, email, website? What's the best way to reach out to you?
It doesn't matter anyway. Some people get really timid with a phone call. They get so nervous. And I think it's this day and age that people are like, oh, I don't want to have to call. That's too much of a commitment. So email or texting. Texting's fine too, just to open up a conversation. My phone number is 239-898-0872. You can call or text, or send me an email. But really, if you have questions, that's what I'm here for. I mean, I am not a high pressure person. I am fierce, but I am not going to pressure you into something. If you have a question, just ask me. I'm happy to help. So.
Awesome. Well, Lyndsey, I appreciate your time. Appreciate you taking the time to, talk a little bit about the market trends, talking a little bit of, what people should be looking for in the current situation that we're living in. And also, putting yourself out there to help out people that, are either already in the area or looking to move into the area. Hopefully my audience is beyond Southwest Florida too, and there's someone moving here that can watch this video and be helped as well. So
come on down. Can't wait to have you.
Yeah, I truly appreciate the time. I don't know if there's anything else you wanna mention to the people watching right now.
No, I mean, if you have questions, let me know. As far as real estate goes, we're not seeing drastic changes. Don't let anybody tell you differently. We are allowed to do real estate services. Don't let anybody tell you that you're not. And if you're looking to get more involved in the community, I do run other groups and have a large group of moms in the community. So if you're new here and you need to make friends when this is all over, contact me and I'll get you set up with people so you can start really cultivating your relationships in the community.
Awesome. Well,